couple of weeks ago, a reporter named Michelle Smith from the Associated Press contacted me to ask about my support of Robert Kennedy Jr. as the nominee for the Secretary of Health and Human Services. It was clear from the start that Smith wasn't interested in factual reporting, but was instead looking to write a hit piece designed to discredit and disparage me, by association, RFK Jr. This was one of her questions. Quote, "You were reprimanded by the California Medical Board and made to repay $26,000 in recovery costs and take courses in ethics and professionalism. Why should members of the United States Senate put stock in your endorsement of Kennedy on a letter signed by physicians, given that the California Medical Board has seen fit to reprimand you?" End quote. If this journalist had done her homework, she would know that not only was that reprimand vacated, but a judge also ordered the California Medical Board to reimburse me for my costs and legal fees, clearly repudiating the California medical cartel. The CMB started targeting me in December 2021 for recommending ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, two low-cost early treatment options for COVID-19. They launched an investigation of me under the guise of misinformation, despite having no authority over speech. No patients had complained. I had a spotless disciplinary record, and I'd never been sued for medical malpractice, something very few emergency physicians can claim. So what was the real motive behind the California Medical Board investigation? As the so-called hearing revealed, it was a political agenda that had nothing to do with medicine. Throughout my 3-day hearing, the California Medical Board interrogated me relentlessly about my political beliefs and my activities in Day 6 on January 6th. In fact, not once mentioning my medical opinions on hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. It was a political witch hunt from the beginning. This witch hunt intended to make an example of me and enforce ideological conformity in the medical community. When the CMB reprimanded me, media outlets gleefully reported the news. MedPage Today put my plea deal on their front page. But when I won my appeal in December, including court costs, and the reprimand was vacated, the media went silent. There were no headlines or reports about the court's decision, which, by the way, set a crucial legal precedent protecting other doctors and practitioners with medical licenses who might be unfairly targeted by medical boards. MedPage Today was quiet about my free speech victory for the medical community because it never intended to report the war, just intended to report my temporary defeat. When the AP reporter contacted me to ask questions dripping with arrogant bias and hostility, I knew she wasn't seeking the truth, but an angle to fit a pre-written story. Like other legacy media corporations, they use journalism as a weapon for a political agenda, one that considers medical freedom a far-right talking point. Either the AP reporter didn't do her research and didn't know about my legal win, or she did know about it and planned to omit it from her report. My response to the reporter was clear. The Associated Press deserves every bit of the American public's distrust and disdain and scorn, which is currently dismantling the mainstream media. I set the record straight about my victory over the CMB, and I warned Michelle Smith that if she mentioned the reprimand without noting it was vacated, she and her employer could expect legal action against them. The AP isn't the first to target me, and I'm sure it won't be the last. Since I stood with my colleagues on the Supreme Court steps in July 2020 to tell the truth about the pandemic, every major legacy media outlet has maligned and defamed me. I've been called a quack, an anti-vaxxer, a conspiracy theorist, and more. But this barrage of defamation not only failed to stop me, it backfired. As I recently shared on the Jordan Peterson podcast, I stand for truth above all. The pandemic compelled me to expose the lies of the medical industrial complex, and I founded America's Frontline Doctors to deliver the truth to the American people. The corporate media's relentless attacks, gossip, and lies fuel my resolve because they show what we're up against. When the media tried to convince the public that ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine were unsafe, despite their long, safe use and FDA approval for decades. I was compelled to speak the truth. In this pursuit, I've learned that personal resilience is vital and counteracting the propaganda is imperative. Truth has a way of prevailing, no matter how hard it is suppressed. More people are waking up to the corruption in the legacy media, which is beginning to crumble as Americans stand up for freedom, truth, and integrity. In this American Renaissance, we will build a future where honesty triumphs over deception, where justice replaces bias, and where the voices of the people are no longer drowned out by manufactured narratives. Thank you for listening. I'm Dr. Simone Gold.